Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in tonight to Soul Talk. And I'm excited to introduce my guest tonight. He is a good friend of mine. We met each other about 4, maybe 5 years ago at a place called the Life Center in Tampa, Florida. And so he has been a guest on many shows on ABC World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. He's been on Fox 13 here locally in Tampa. He is on the Big Call, and he is a certified holistic nutritionist. And he's an amazing guy and owns a wonderful company that's helping a lot of people. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But tonight our subject is about boosting your immune system naturally. And so just give me a second and I'll bring on my friend Bob Gilpatrick. Hi, Bob. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well, Jeremy. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. And looking forward to our conversation and giving some people some really good information about their health. And I know we were going to talk about the immune system and that. And, I think that right now that's just such a huge topic because, everybody's concerned about. I saw a friend today said they're really concerned to go to the house. I have other friends that they haven't seen their parents since February of last year, and not to obviously dive too much into that, but the immune system is a big concern right now, obviously. And so I guess we can just kind of dive right in and start talking about, how we can boost our immune system and what your recommendations are and that kind of stuff when it comes around even COVID-19 or anything basically within the body.
Yeah, so it is probably a perfect time to talk about this. There's a lot of people that had a really rough time in 2020, and a lot of it was mental health issues, which are very bad for your immune system. You had about 17% of the population of the United States started to see a therapist for the first time. And you already had 31% of the people seeing a therapist. So now very close to half of all the people in the US are seeing a therapist. And they reported that, they're entering into 2021 in a state of despair and state of distrust and fear. And they're blaming COVID is the number one thing they're blaming. And then they're also blaming the election and misinformation. Those were the three main things that people were talking about with their therapists. And they're presenting with depression and anxiety and paranoia and PTSD. And that's part of what we can do tonight is talk a little bit about how to maintain a positive mindset even during times when things were worse than maybe you'd had ever seen them in your life. And it's, if not worse, definitely different. And so we can get to that and talk about that a little bit in regard to what we help people with at Boomers Forever Young in regard to their immune system is a comprehensive approach. So if you talk to the doctors and scientists that are doing the really in-depth research on the immune system as it relates to diet and nutrition, they're basically saying that every single known nutrient is important for your immune system. And if you are depleting even one thing, it's going to have a negative effect on your immune system. And so one of the things that we do is provide fundamental nutrition where people can get all of the basic building blocks of human life in one system that we call the total health system. So it includes amino acids, fatty acids, low glycemic index carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and branched chain amino acids, specialty nutrients that we know are deplete in people as they age, like phosphatidylcholine and trimethylglycine. And then it also has a focus on antioxidants as well. So glutathione's an antioxidant. Vitamins A, C, and E are antioxidants. So is trimethylglycine. And we know that inflammation is a very big problem in human health. And it's not only a very dangerous thing to have high inflammation if you get exposed to COVID, but just in general, about 95% of all diseases are caused from high inflammation. And so putting together a total health system that includes enough antioxidants to dramatically reduce your inflammation. So we're talking about by a factor of 10. So the average person, if you test their biomarkers for inflammation, C-reactive protein, homocysteine, et cetera, they're going to be, say, an average of a 3. When you use a total health system, that's going to go down to 0.3 or lower. And they say anything below 0.5, you're not going to have any health problems because of inflammation. And so that's part of our approach, is this comprehensive nutrition, knowing that every nutrient's important. But in addition to that, we also know there are certain nutrients, and a lot of this came out of the COVID research, where the doctors were testing people's blood work and looking at what the differences were between the people that got COVID and did well and the people that got COVID and didn't do well, including dying. And there were some protocols that became very apparent. The most glaring one was vitamin D3. And there's a direct correlation between your level of vitamin D3 and how well you do if you get sick in general, but particularly with COVID. And then right behind that, and almost equally important, turns out that vitamin C was extremely important as well. So there's they also, another interesting study that was done was related to glutathione, and they specifically were measuring the amount of glutathione present in the lungs. And they found that people who died and got really sick from COVID had very low glutathione in their lungs, and people that had higher levels of glutathione tended to do really well. But it was also related to inflammation in general. People that had high inflammation, a high CRP, were not going to do well. So knowing all of these things, Jeremy, it's really important for people to know their levels of certain things. So number one, your vitamin D level. Most people don't have any idea what it is, and you want your level to be around 70. The range goes from 20 to 100, but if your D3 is 20, you're very, very low. You want it to be up around 70. And then you also want to know your CRP, right? That's your C-reactive protein. It's the most common measure of inflammation. That's the one you want to be below 0.5. You also want to know what your iron level is. Iron is not typically tested for on blood tests anymore. And you don't want your iron to be too low, obviously. You'll be very tired, or you'll be anemic. But even worse, you don't want it to be too high. And more people have high iron than have low iron. And the high iron causes excessive inflammation. And so if you have very high iron, you can donate blood, bring your iron level down, and you want to keep it in about the 25% range. So if you look at the whole range, you want it to be at about 1/4, right? And it can go higher than that, but if it starts to go up in the middle of the range, you probably want to donate some blood and keep it down so it doesn't cause inflammation. And then the other thing is know your sugar level, right? Get your fasting blood sugar, and also know your A1C, the measure of sugar over time, over approximately 3 months. You want to know that level, because the higher your blood sugar, the more inflammation you're going to have. And it's that inflammation that you see causing problems for people with diabetes that get peripheral neuropathy, problems with their eyesight, their kidneys. It's related to that excessive inflammation. And so those are the main tests that you want to get. And, if you look at the total health system that we're referring to, it's a very good start. The total health system also has probiotics, Jeremy. And this is something that is so completely intertwined with your immune system, meaning your microbiome, the bacteria that's in your whole alimentary canal, is so entwined with your immune system that they're essentially one and the same thing. And issues with your immune system can have a negative effect on your microbiome, and vice versa. Your microbiome's communicating with your brain as a team of trillions of bacteria. It's highly sophisticated communication system that's communicating with your brain, and it's also making substrates for your brain. And then your brain and your thinking has an effect on your affect, and can have a positive or a negative effect on your immune system based on whether you have anxiety, depression, or, like us, if you're very happy and well-balanced a person, then it has a positive effect on your microbiome. Your bacteria colonies are responding to your emotions, and so is your immune system.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. One of the comments in the is a mental health crisis. For sure, mental health impacts our physical health. So true. But then also, same from Natalie, is a total health system. That's a holistic approach to individual's life and understanding everything is connected, right? And I thought that was really interesting because, I think that we all find ourselves separate. And we were talking about, the state of mind when we were talking about the show. And I think that, thinking you're all separate, or you have to do things separately or fight against each other or be divided, all that kind of stuff really kind of will affect your health as well. So
yeah, no doubt. It's going to affect your belief structures. It's going to affect the level of emotion that you're going to experience that are related to your belief structures, and it's going to reinforce. People tend to, delete and distort and generalize information, and when times are tough, those filters go into overdrive, and particularly with generalization. And people will say, oh, well, that's just like that person's just like that person, they're from this political party, therefore they must be like that, right? Mm-hmm. And this overgeneralization is on runaway, high-speed train right now. People are just generalizing like crazy, and unfortunately, it's not only bad for the person they're generalizing about, but it's bad for you also, because when you're generalizing in a negative way, you're reinforcing in your brain that these things are not okay, right? When you're generalizing, it's not normally generalizing to say, hey, everything's good, right? It's usually a bad thing. And so they say that the average American is of the belief that things are not okay 95% of the time, right? And this was before COVID, right? And so when you're of that belief, unfortunately, it perpetuates itself, because if you believe that things are not okay, that's registering in your amygdala, and your amygdala is communicating with your frontal cortex, telling it, hey, everything's you got to be really alert here. Things are not okay. And then your frontal cortex is sending a neuronal signal to your heart muscle, and your heart beats with a degree of variability or not, depending on the signal coming from your frontal cortex. And then your heart then sends a message to the amygdala, and the amygdala is taking a cue. And so you have this loop, this metabolic pathway that gets stuck in everything is not okay. And so what's the opposite of everything is not okay? Well, things are okay. And as a matter of fact, I'm grateful that things are okay. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's why gratitude is so good for you, because it breaks that pattern that's in that metabolic pathway. And so if you start to say, wow, I'm really grateful for this beautiful day. I'm really grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. And you start to focus on what you're grateful for, not just for a few seconds or a minute, but you want to linger in gratitude. And Dr. Joe Dispenza says the longer you linger in gratitude, the more you draw your new life to you, right? So people have to have goals and aspirations, things to work on. And if you're in a state of gratitude, you draw those things to you. You draw that which you desire to you. And that's why I like the inner balance device so much from HeartMath, Jeremy, because the inner balance device gives you an app on your cell phone, and it gives you a clip to put on your ear, which is picking up on your heart rate variability. And then it shows you a mandala that shrinks and expands, and you sync your breath to it. It's approximately 5 seconds. And then as you focus on gratitude, you're getting feedback, cardio and neurobiofeedback on your cell phone that shows you how well you're doing lingering in gratitude. And the system knows when you go out of gratitude and drift into a state that's other than that. And it begins to alert you, hey, get back focused and get back and, focus on your gratitude. And so what I like to help people with the concept of a gratitude stack, because you can stack gratitude on top of each other. I'm so grateful for my wonderful spouse, right? Well, what are you grateful about? Well, it's about how kind she is, about how kind he is. And then you go through numerous things. This is a gratitude stack, and it makes it so you've lingered in gratitude. And this alone can boost your immune system equal to the amount that the greatest nutrition in the world can boost your immune system.
Yeah, Stan just said gratitude is the attitude.
So, yeah, there you go.
I was just going to point out also, by the way, everybody, if you would like to know more about Boomers or order any of their products, you can definitely call 1-800-861-4609 and just tell them Soul Talk told you to call, and they'll take good care of you. So I know maybe we could actually talk just really quick. I know that's not the context of it. It just popped into my head. Larry, your business partner, and basically through what you do, not only saved his life, but he's now here as your business partner. But I think his blood work, didn't it come back where he was a 40-year-old man as opposed to being in his 70s? So.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I met Larry about 11 years ago, like around 2010 approximately. And I'd come to his office to help him with a computer project. And Larry was, as the Brits say, he was crumbly. And he was 65 years old, but when we looked at his blood work, he was actually going on 85 years old. He had been poisoned in the paint shops earlier in his life, and he had worked around toxic things a lot. And he was on 11 medications and had just had a couple surgeries and was scheduled for a couple more. And so I started helping him with his health, and mostly through nutrition and stress management. I taught him the emotional freedom technique, and we started working on his nutrition. And in a very short period of time, he was able to get off all of his medications. He'd lost about 65 pounds of fat, and he increased his strength by more than double working out at the gym. And a couple of years ago, when he was somewhere around 73, he went to get his physical for a new life insurance policy. And they measured, in addition to a lot of other things, they measured his C-reactive protein, his cholesterol levels, all these things that life insurance companies use to decide how much longer you might live. And then they base your relative rate of health and your age. They give you a price as to how much you have to pay for the policy. And so the insurance company called Larry's agent and said, hey, this is great. We're happy. This is the healthiest person that you've ever sent us. and he gets superior preferred status for his rate, which is the lowest rate you can pay. They said, but there's a mistake on the application. It says he was born in 1945, and this looks like a 33-year-old man to us. And so he essentially, in terms of the life insurance company's ability to measure someone's biological age as opposed to their chronological age, he had de-aged about 50 years from getting rid of the food that he was eating, too much sugar, too much trans fats, and replacing it with really great nutrition products, and managing his stress. That's what can happen. And so it was his idea. Larry's like, hey, Bob, if you could do this for me, why don't we, make a system and make a company out of it and have our own brand and let other people have access to this as well. Because I was just kind of helping one person at a time back then, Jeremy. And so I agreed to do it with him, and we've now helped over 10,000 people in the last 10 years, in a similar way to how Larry was helped from the modern science of nutrition. I didn't invent any of this stuff. I just knew about it from my background and studies and as a practitioner.
Yeah, I just think that's it brings context to what we're talking about. And obviously you're a wealth of knowledge anyways. And so, but I know that's like, I remember when you first told me that story, I was like, it was basically obviously there's science behind it, but that for him is like a miracle,
Mm-hmm.
And now it's, years later and he's healthy, and I've met his partner, and he is about as healthy as they can be. He's healthier than I probably am as 47. So, but I think we've talked about some really powerful things here. We've talked about the biggest one, emotions, and how we see things, and it's like suicide rates have been higher than ever in the last year, and through COVID, because people are isolated from their families, their loved ones, all that kind of stuff. And then what happens when we are depressed? We probably don't eat the healthiest, and we've been making jokes over the last year about COVID weight, and so there's a lot of things where we're very concerned about the immune system from that, but we're also not necessarily doing the best things to take care of them. So I just recently, over the last month and a half, I make sure I get out to the park at least twice a week to go walk, because I work at home. Both my business and my job are at home, so I need to get out. And we were just joking about that before the show. So I think that there's a lot of things that we can be doing, and I'm looking at your site too, the immune system support packs that increases immunity and reduces stress. Those are powerful things. That's kind of the conversation that you're already having. But now, for those that are out there, if you have not heard about, and I think on your website, Bob, don't you have stuff on EFT, emotional freedom techniques?
We do, on our YouTube channel. So if people are on the website, if you scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see the social icons. And if you click on the YouTube icon, it's the third one over, you'll land on Boomers Forever Young. And then just click the playlist, and there's a playlist on the emotional freedom technique. There's 5 videos there. 2 of them are intros, and then 3 of them are specifics. One's for the immune system, one is for stress, and one is for releasing weight, losing weight.
For those of you that are on YouTube, I just dropped it in the comments. So if you want to,
there's also in another playlist called Helpful Videos, and there's 2 very important videos in there. One is called the Ultimate Mind Calming Exercise, which is a bioenergetic exercise which can, within the first 5 minutes of learning to do it and doing it, you can go into a state of no mind. And it's a very powerful thing, because people can meditate for years and never quiet their mind. It's hard to practice to do that. And this is a technique that's It's a combination of a number of different things that were pieced together from bioenergetic therapy, psychocalisthenics, and some other bits and pieces that made a very, very powerful mind calming exercise. It'll create a complete state of no mind when you do it. And then also, Jeremy, there's a video there called Manual Lymphatic Drainage, and a very, very important thing to learn how to do lymph drainage for yourself and your loved ones. And the lymph system is a major, part of your immune system, but also, some of the physiologists and doctors that look at these matters consider the entirety of your alimentary canal to actually be part of the lymph system. And it's certainly part of the immune system, and they're intertwined. But learning to speed up the flow of the lymph in your body is very, very beneficial. And that video is there also.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, the other thing I was going to say, and I wanted to make sure that you can come on to our podcast, right? And so the Live Forever Young radio podcast, it'd be really great to have you come on as a guest and talk about what you do with your coaching and with your professional life.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And I think we were talking about this last night. And then, by the way, if you guys want to check out Bob's radio, I know he's already got, I think he put out release 10 today.
Yes. Yep.
So, and then they're going to start releasing them one a week. So you can binge watch or binge listen to several of them starting today, but that actually just launched today, so which is really cool. And they're going to have several of them coming out every week, and it's all going to be, I can guarantee you, valuable information to help you. But I know we were talking about the village, having the community of people, and I think that's so important. And having the village of people, I also think the part is to be authentic with them, especially with your tribe. And it was funny. I just had an experience on Monday, and my group of friends, we've been hanging out on Saturday night almost all through COVID, and just playing games and stuff like that. And why was that so important? Because it kept us. We started out during the lockdown doing it online. We found games to play on Zoom, and then eventually started just on Saturday nights meeting up at a friend's house. And why is that important? Because we need to have time for ourselves to connect. I think that's what I kind of want to go back to Natalie's comment that she said earlier, where she said everything is connected, and so and I think that's reduces stress for us, because we feel love and we feel people cared and we feel heard and that kind of stuff. And that's a whole long topic that
but really, really, really super important. There's research out that says that social isolation is actually worse for your health than smoking cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
And it definitely, social isolation will reduce your lifespan by up to 15 years. Wow. And the other thing that's real important, we were talking about this earlier, Jeremy, is sitting. A lot of people are now sitting all day. They're working from home. They don't get up as much to go to the office down the hall to meet with somebody, talk to people. So you might sit for hours upon hours. It's a good thing probably to set an alarm, even if it's like a kitchen timer. Turn it on, and every half hour, 45 minutes, get up. And if possible, go outside. And if you can't go outside, at least look out the window and look outside and focus on something that's green. Right now, that might be hard at certain times of the year in certain places, but when you can, focus on things that are green. There's research that shows if people get up, move around every 45 minutes and spend 2 minutes focusing on things that are green, it can negate most of the negative effects of sitting all day.
That's powerful, because when during the lockdown I had to get out. I was by myself, And as you know, I'm a pretty social person, so it was like I was going crazy. And in a sense, it was good because I actually got to a place where I quieted my mind. But I think if I sustained that, that would have been, yeah, exactly what you're saying, not super healthy. And I had to have that social interaction, especially with the people I care about. And so there's, and also I believe that we need to meet new people too, new interactions, because the universe brings us new people to grow. And I think that's Shinrin Yuko, forest bathing. Shinrin Yuko. I don't know what that means. I will have to call you afterwards and ask you what that means now.
Cool.
Or sometime tomorrow.
Awesome. That sounds great. Forest bathing.
The forest bathing. Oh, I get it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Blonde sometimes. Getting out in wilderness.
Yeah.
I just put a green screen up and I act like I'm in front of an island.
Yeah. It looks like a view out the window of my condo.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. That's really cool. So real quick, I just want to mention, everybody, just don't forget this is going to be on Roku TV at the LA Tribune app on Roku TV. Takes about a day or so to get up. So, and then all previous episodes are there on demand as well. So if you have Roku, or here on my YouTube channel as well. So, Bob, what are some last minute things that you would like to present, the listeners about the immune system and, things that can help them during this time frame?
Well, I think that, the idea of fundamental nutrition, knowing that every known nutrient's important for the immune system, and that also keeping your inflammation down, right? So know your score on those 4 tests we talked about, and make sure your inflammation is down. And if you need help with that, give us a call at our office and say, hey, I saw you on Soul Talk, and I want help with what we talked about with the immune system. And if you do that, and then also begin to use 2021 as a time to shift your mindset. All right, enough already with the despair and and that, and going into 2021 not feeling optimistic. It's okay to feel optimistic. Make your plans, right? If you need a spiritual planning book that's also practical for your day, get a book, get Brendan Burchard's, planning book, which is very spiritual, and use it. And then, do the exercises that you need to calm your mind, learn to do the emotional freedom technique, all right? Get an inner balance device and get busy creating your own paradise, right? So Jeremy, you literally created it right behind you, but in a very real sense, I think it was Rasha in her book Oneness, where she was channeling oneness, who was telling her to inform people, you're limitless, right? And you can create the paradise of your own choosing. And you need to create it, you need to see it, you need to feel it, and then you need to live it. You need to act it out and live it, and then share it with your friends, share it with the universe. This is your note to play, right? Each person has a note to play in the song of the universe, and choose your note wisely and have that note come from the core of your soul, from the paradise that you've created, that you chose to live. And then that's how the universe thrives. The universe wants that note of yours to be coming from that place, from your own highest thought for yourself, right? And then your 2021 can have a much, much different outcome than, going into it in a state of despair.
It's interesting. Oh, just to bring this one last point. When it comes to inflammation, have you ever worked with the grounding or earthing? The earthing baths?
Yeah. And that, I thought at first with the forest comment that's what it was referring to, was the earthing. And so, yes, and earthing, that it's really important because you can, you're closer literally to the earth, and your body is absorbing the pulsed electromagnetic forces that are coming from the core of the earth. Those forces are actually dilating your capillaries. That's how your blood flows. Your heart pumps to 25% of your circulatory system, but your body's responding to pulses from the core of the earth so that you can have blood to your cells. So yeah, if you have antioxidants that you're taking in by mouth, you need to be able to circulate them. So whether it's with earthing or a pulsed electromagnetic field mat with a power supply that you can get, it's extremely valuable.
Yeah, so lots of great information, guys. Do check out boomerboost.com. Like I mentioned, you can also call them 1-800-861-4609 and just tell them Soul Talk told you to call. Gracious, amazing people. Everybody, I've met most of the people in his office over the years, and they're just amazing people. So I know you're not going to be disappointed. Also, check out his radio show, liveforeveryoungradio.com. They just posted a bunch of episodes today. And obviously, if you like this, share it. So, but everybody, next week, I will have my friend Dr. Loren Lorino on, and we'll be talking, continuing this conversation. But everybody, much love, and everybody have an amazing, amazing week. The other thing on Roku, I'll just point this out, the Quantum Leap Summit was on this weekend. It's already up on the Roku app for LA Tribune. And Kevin Harrington is on there, Joe Vitale. There's just some amazing people. And even if you are an amazing entrepreneur, we could all use a little bit of motivation and education. We can all grow. So I would definitely check it out. So, Bob, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm sure we're going to have you on many more times soon. Over the time, and we'll educate this world about being healthier.
So, well, thank you, Jeremy. It's the pleasure.